My next guest can be seen regularly on Fox News' Outnumbered. She's also the national spokesman for the LIBRE initiative, an organization for advancing economic empowerment in the Hispanic community. She's here tonight to shed some light on Pope Francis's economic message during his visit to South America, the significance of the Hispanic vote, and much more. Did I mention she's married to a congressman? Please welcome Rachel Campos-Duffy back to the show.
Thanks,
Great to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to put a full screen up. This is the Pope in South America. Here's what he had to say about the economy. The first task is to put the economy at the service of peoples. Human beings and nature must not be at the service of money. Let us say no to an economy of exclusion and inequality where money rules rather than service. That economy kills. That economy excludes. That economy destroys Mother Earth. The economy should not be a mechanism for accumulating goods, but rather the proper administration of our common home. This entails a commitment to care for that home and to the fitting distribution of its goods among all. Is the Pope preaching economic class warfare? He says no.
Well, first of all, capitalism or free enterprise, I agree, is the worst system possible, except for everything else, right? And
so it's not perfect, is what you're saying.
It's not perfect, and I think what it needs is an injection of ethics and morality, which is lacking in the culture at large. And I think that maybe ought to be where the Pope is speaking to. Where is the culture? And are those moral principles, the ethics that would infuse business, are those infused in the culture at large? And I think that's where he should, because frankly, there's an article that says, I just received, that he actually admits that he knows very little about economics.
Well, you see, but this is where my take is, if you get past the inflammatory stuff, and you realize that this is a man who grew up, spent most of his life in Argentina, hardly the free market capital of the world, crony capitalism and Peronism, let's face it. You know, and I think having that perspective, that is what he's sort of his understanding of the economy. If you peer through the rest of this and pull it apart, there is a lot of social and moral teaching here. In fact, I think he's actually calling people to have a heart for the poor and not get lost in materialism. That, I think, is what he's trying to say, but it's somehow being lost in the translation, I think, because of his own perspective.
Well, because of his own perspective, but also because of his own words. I think just before Cardinal George passed away, God rest his soul, he actually talked about sort of these confusing sort of spatterings of statements that from the Pope that are contradictory, and he sort of asks, you know, please don't make us be the one to have to sift through it. Please be more clear so we understand where you're coming from. In terms of class warfare, I think Mother Teresa said, we don't need class warfare. What we need is a class encounter where the rich save the poor and the poor save the rich. And I think that when he stands when he goes to Latin America and he stands next to an authoritarian, you know, third-rate populist who, frankly, has done a lot to erode the freedom, including religious freedom.
You're talking about Morales in Bolivia.
We know he's going to be in Cuba soon as well. It sends a very conflicting message, and we're not hearing enough about the people that are languishing in prisons in Cuba, the people that are languishing in prisons in Venezuela, because these figures, these authoritarian populist figures in Latin America that have arisen, these guys are squashing the opposition. Oppressors
of human rights as well as religious rights in the case of Cuba.
As well, and we're not hearing much about that.
And I tend to agree with you. I think the mixed message is coming from, because I think he's actually saying what Mother Teresa is saying. You have to encounter these people. You need a real encounter with the poor. We should be with the poor. That I think he's trying to say. At the same time, there is this moment that everyone remembers from last week where the Pope received that hammer and sickle crucifix from Morales. And he said, oh, I didn't know that, when he looked at it. And later on the plane, he said, look, it's a piece of protest art. I'm taking it back to the Vatican with me. Maybe not the best imaging in all of this.
Not great imaging, but two things. I mean, I was on social media. There's a lot of people who have endured oppression, religious oppression, at the hands of communism that were deeply offended that he accepted it and didn't use it as a teaching moment for Evo Morales and even for the Bolivian and Latin American populations at large. As a mom, you know, forget all the titles you gave me at the beginning. As a mom, very confusing. We try to teach our children to be reverent of the crucifix, which of course we know is a symbol of the ultimate sacrifice, and to have somebody like Evo Morales, I think really defile it in that way, and have the Pope not respond. When we saw Mother Teresa stand up to Bill Clinton and talk about abortion and, you know, really speak truth to power, these are teachable moments for our world leaders who need that teaching from the Pope. And I think his silence on this is from a mom perspective, very troubling.
Okay. I want you to put your LIBRE hat on for a moment to talk about this new Univision poll.
Okay.
58% of Hispanics identify as Democratic, 16% as Republican. Now, what happened, I heard many of these Republican strategists saying, look, the more people that come into the United States, particularly Hispanics, the ranks are going to swell for conservatives because these people are God-fearing, they're family-based people, and they agree with the GOP on social issues. Not according to this Univision poll.
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. They don't only agree on social issues. They actually, when you get down to the real issues, you take personalities out, take Hillary out, take all that out, they actually agree on the economic issues. And so what we see in this poll is one that Hillary is very well known. I mean, 96% of the people said they knew enough about her to form an opinion. That could not, I mean, even Jeb Bush in the same poll got 16%. So there is a chance that as people get to know more about these candidates, and if these candidates are perceived to be friendly towards the issues that Hispanics care about and can overcome some of the issues like immigration that have been used to batter GOP candidates, you could have a real race on your hand.
Just to clarify, 68% view Hillary positively, Hillary Clinton. 35% view Marco Rubio, a fellow Latino, positively.
Absolutely.
Only 36% for Jeb Bush as well.
So this is a GOP branding problem, and this is why I believe the left, or the Democrats, really want to keep immigration alive, and why Donald Trump is such a problem for the Republicans right now, because he is sort of confirming this narrative that that the conservatives, or that the GOP is against Hispanics. I think when we can, when conservatives and the GOP in particular can get immigration off the table, all the issues, look at what is most important to Hispanics. Number one, the economy, jobs and education. And on all those, education, they want school choice. These are things that the Democrats are against.
I've got to get to this issue before I let you go. IUDs without parental consent in the Seattle public school system. Girls as young as 11 can request an IUD at the school without the consent of the parents.